Hi everyone. A few of you have mentioned that you can wake up feeling quite stiff first thing in the morning. So I've put together a gentle movement routine that you can do as soon as you wake up in the morning, and these movements will be wonderful at helping alleviate that discomfort that you feel through your lower back and through your hips and through the shoulders as well. I hope you enjoy these exercises. First of all, we have pelvic rocks. So I start with my heels just away from reaching distance. Feet are going to be hip width apart. And then I bring my fingertips onto my pelvis. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to arch my back away from the bed, and then I'm going to arch back through the other way, flattening my spine into the bed. Arching my back away from the bed, and then flattening my back into the bed. So I'm just mobilizing through my pelvis here. If you get a lot of stiffness through the lower back, this might be enough just to start off with. However, once you're feeling a little bit more limber through there, press through your heels and lift your hips just off the bed. So for some of you, this may feel really stiff, but if you can tolerate a little more, lift up a little higher. Be guided by your back and your hips with this movement. Make sure that your heels are not too far away so that you don't feel this movement through the back of the legs. But if you can, squeeze your bottom gently and lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Working up to about 10 to 15 repetitions of glute bridges or pelvic rocks. Number 2 is pelvic circles. So with this one, I bring my knees in towards my chest. So I'm going to support my hands on my knees here, and then I'm going to bring my knees into my chest and gently rock away. Now this is level 1, so I'm just gently guiding my knees in towards my chest, no forceful movements here, and then slowly letting the knees return back to the starting position. Now if you can tolerate a little more, you can do little circles, moving in nice little circles, whatever feels best through that lower back or lumbar spine. So I move in little anti-clockwise circles and then moving into about 5 clockwise circles. But if that feels good, you can part the knees and go in opposite directions. It's a really nice movement to start to bring some rotation into the hips before we come up into more middle back exercises. Now for number 3, I've shifted over a little more to the center of the bed, and I'm going to bring my arms out nice and wide, just so I don't have any risk of falling out of bed here. So to start off with, feet can go nice and wide, and rock the knees all the way from one side over to the other. Now I have a lot of you doing this at the gym, but it's also a really great thing to do first thing in the morning to bring some lovely gentle movement into your hips. Now there is a progression for this one, so if you feel pretty nice and warm through that lower back and it's opened up through those hips a little more, what you can do is bring the legs up to a tabletop and gently rock those knees from one side over to the other. And because you're nice and safe in bed, you're not going to roll off, so you can take the legs all the way over one way and then all the way over the other way. So this also gets the tummy muscles firing a little bit too. Now coming up to sit in a seated position on the side of the bed, I'm going to sit right on the edge of the bed here, but just far back enough so that you're nice and safe. We're going into a seated cat-cow. Now I like to hold onto my hips for this one because it just gives you a little bit more feedback for how you're moving. So I arch my back right behind me, bowing forwards, and then open right up through the chest. So I'm really moving here through my mid-back as much as possible. So as I scoop my spines, tuck my tailbone, I look down towards my hips, and then as I open up through my ribs, I'm going to open up through my cervical spine, through my neck, and look to the ceiling. So about 15 to 30 seconds of this movement here, just getting some lovely opening through that mid-back now, arching back and forth. Now moving into seated twists, so I'm sitting a little further back on the bed now so that my calf muscles are touching the back of the bed, and I'm going to bring one hand onto the opposite knee, the other hand reaches right behind me and I twist looking over my shoulder, as if you're driving and reversing out of a really skinny little driveway, and you need to look right back behind you so that you don't go off course. So twisting from one side all the way over to the other. Moving nice and slowly with this one because you want a really lovely rotational stretch through the spine, and doing this movement for about 30 seconds. The next exercise is a forward fold. So I'm sitting on the edge of the bed again and right up towards the edge here. Now, the first option is just coming forwards into a nice long fold. You may not be able to touch the floor, and then returning back to a nice tall sitting position and reaching all the way forwards towards the floor. Remember, you don't have to touch the floor, just as far as you can get down. But if you can tolerate a little bit more, come right down to the floor and then reach up overhead, up towards the ceiling, and bring the arms back around and down. Coming down towards the floor and then reaching up, circling the arms down and around. If your shoulders won't allow for that movement, you can just bow forwards and then come up, cross hands over chest and into a little back bend. And come down towards the floor and coming up to a seated position, hands across shoulders and little tiny back bend. The final exercise is a seated side bend. So I'm sitting up nice and tall with my calves up against the bed, wiggled back a little bit so I'm nice and safe on top. Now to start off with, my hands are by my side and I'm going to reach all the way over one way, keeping both sit bones on the bed so I'm not lifting my sit bones off the bed. Then I'm going all the way over the other side, as if you've got one friend on each arm pulling you over one way and then pulling you back over the other way. Now, if you can tolerate a little bit more, take your opposite arm overhead with you. So as I reach over towards the left, I'm reaching my right arm overhead and vice versa. Getting a really nice stretch from one side of the body over to the other, getting as much movement through your mid-spine as possible. I hope you enjoyed all of those exercises that you can fit into your morning ritual. Please let me know if there are any other things that you would like me to put in a video to send out to you. Have a lovely rest of your weekend. Bye.